Hey everybody, Jonah Fox here, and this video is going to help you get your bends in tune. This isn't an easy thing to do. You're going to need some software, you're going to need a whole lot of patience. And if you go through this process, I think you'll find that you'll be able to hit your notes more reliably. And you really do have to develop the sense of like locking into specific bent notes, especially on the holes like 2 and 3 where there's a lot of notes that you can access, to be able to, as an example, play in the minor scale, like the minor pentatonic on harmonica. You got this scale, which is great, but if you can't hit that second note of the scale, the flat 3, so let's take a look at the tuner, okay? We're trying to hit that B flat. This is a C harmonica, Hohner crossover. As you'll notice, I'm playing the scale and not everything is perfectly in tune, and there's a reason for that. One is about control and the other is about how harmonicas are made. So there are lots of different ways, not tunings, but like they are tunings of how the individual reeds are actually tuned, that are choices by harmonica manufacturers for very specific reasons. The harmonica is generally not perfectly in tune all the time because apparently you can tune the reeds so that every individual note is perfect, but the chords sound awful. You can tune all of the notes so the individual reeds are awful and the chords sound good, but most harmonica manufacturers decide to use a compromise tuning where the notes sound pretty good and the chords sound pretty good, but it is a little jarring because when you're actually trying to tune your notes, you'll realize that it's really hard to get your notes perfectly in tune because that's not really what your harmonica wants to do by default. We're going to go through this process of playing some notes, seeing how they are in your tuner, how you actually adjust them in your mouth. This will change depending on what embouchure you're using, but the general principles of bending still apply. I'm not going to cover them in this video. This is about tuning specifically. And I'm going to show you how you could do this either with a very harmonica-specific software or with a free chromatic tuner. All right, so let's go and dive in. I'm going to take a look at the software. And if you're looking at this, this is an app called Harp Ninja. Now, it's not available on Mac, but everything else you have, PC and iOS and Android, all work. And it has this software. It's a little pricey, so I would only get this if you really feel like you need the visuals for harmonica. You can totally do this with a chromatic tuner. So let's go take a look here. And we have this harmonica. You can see it's in C. The notes on the top are the blow notes. The notes on the bottom are the draw notes. And if you take a look at hole 2 and 3, there's a bunch of different notes that we can hit on this C harmonica. And it's going to take a little bit of control to hit them. For me personally, as I believe I said before, this is a couple takes into the video, being able to practice this helped me get that B flat note that you can see that's one step below down on the third hole draw. So let's start with one of our easier bends, which is 1 draw. So I'm going to hit the 1 draw note without the bend. So without trying too hard, it's a little sharp. When it goes to the right, it's sharp. When it goes to the left, it's flat. Now, there's some things that I can change in my mouth to kind of get it a little bit closer, but honestly, for our purposes, this is mostly good enough. If you play this note in the key of C, in the key of D, whatever key that you're in here that fits in theory-wise, it's going to sound like it works. And now it might be a little bit off, but that's also partially just the sound of a harmonica. It's a little bit out of tune sometimes. So let's try that again. So there we go. That was a little bit closer. Now I'm going to do a bend here. This is me kind of changing my sound to a little bit of an ooh sound. I do my bends by moving my tongue. I'm a tongue blocking player. And if you're a tongue blocking player, that's generally how you bend your notes. So I'm going to try my bend. So now I'm kind of moving all around, and I was eventually able to get it to the middle. Now, if you're going to do this over and over, I guess the point would be to get your note tuned in as quick as possible. So there we go. And then you would just repeat this process over and over to get that bent note. And when you actually hit the bend perfectly, that is exactly the embouchure that you need to be playing a perfect bent note that's in tune. So let's move on to the fourth hole. So the fourth hole is that C, and now you can see as I have it, it's a little bit sharp. There we go. I was able to get it in tune. And what I'm doing to change the tuning of the C note is, if you know how to blow bend, you're kind of actually applying like the blow bend principle to make your note a little bit more flat. So I saw that my note was a little sharp. I'm kind of doing that blow bend thing. It's actually going to flatten your note just a little bit. And that's a perfect C. Now, if you know overblows and your harmonic is set up for that, if you keep applying that blow bend, you'll actually hit an overblow. Which I can do, but you might not be able to do on your current harp or at your skill level yet, and that's totally fine. It's a very advanced technique. So now I want to be able to hit that D flat that's on the draw note one box below, so that's a half step down. So we D up to D flat, because we're going up to that C. My reed got stuck. I'm not going to spend time on that one. Let's go take a look at 6. Okay, so 6. Blow, we have a G. And draw, we have an A. And if you change, the elements in your mouth, and for me it's my tongue, I'm a tongue blocking. You can try using an ooh sound or like a whistling inward idea. We're going to bend that note down and hit that A flat. And that's what you do. You'd go between the notes, one after another, getting it in tune, going back to the original, getting it in tune, back to the original. That's the idea. All right, we're going to take a look at now the more difficult holes, and we're going to start on hole number 2. So again, your blow note is an E. So you can see even my E blow, it's not perfectly in tune. I wish it was. It's not. And you can really work on these, getting your notes in tune like absolutely perfectly, but I really wouldn't spend the time. Really, if anything in this process, work on your draw bend notes. So I'm going to do just a regular 2-hole draw. This should be a G. Perfect. See, that one worked. Now we're going to do a whole step bend. So I'm really going to increase the angle of my tongue, kind of bending upwards. All right, I was able to get that F. Now, when I'm playing, I'm not really thinking about the tuning of your notes, and this is the practice that you go through so you can do the work now, so you don't really have to be concerned about when your notes being perfectly in tune when you're actually playing music. This is like kind of the workshop style of practice session that you're doing, and you're probably not going to want to do this that many times, but really you just keep going until you're actually able to hit all of the notes, and then try to just practice them through scales. All right, so back to Harp Ninja here. I'm going to go hit that F. That's the whole step bend. And then we're going to release the intensity a little bit. I'm going to move my tongue back in my mouth, more close to a normal note, but still bent. There's the G flat, and then back to the G. All right, so you're doing a full bend, then you're releasing a little bit, and then you're going back to normal. And you will probably like hear the note as sounding pretty okay if it's even in the ballpark of that G flat in this case. And that is a little bit more difficult than the rest of the notes because there is one extra thing that you can bend to, but the third hole is a nightmare. Let's take a look. So we can bend 3 half steps down all the way down to an A flat. And it's really hard to hit, not the A flat, and not really the A. The A is a little bit easier, but the B flat is really hard to hit, at least in my experience. So we have, when you're doing the A flat, you really want to extend that angle of your tongue. And in this case, like, you know, if you're using your tongue to do your bends, if you're a pucker player, you know, you just want to create more of like a suction thing in your mouth, like. So there's no tongue there for me. It's just kind of this like suction idea. I use the idea of an inward whistle. That seems to work for me when I play in puckering style. Play tongue blocking if you can. Anyways, back to hole 3 here. You're gonna really go hard on that bend all the way. And then we're gonna progressively try to release it a little bit. So I'm gonna release it to get that whole step bend to the A. There we go. And then a little bit more to get the B flat. This is the tricky one. It's going to take some practice. And again, you probably won't be perfect. Again, harmonicas aren't perfect. You're not perfect. Don't try to be. Just try to get close. So my B note there doesn't even really want to get in tune. So anyways, that is the process when you're using something like Harp Ninja. And I really like Harp Ninja as a harmonica student just because you can see all the notes and you actually know physically what you're hitting. I think it is very useful. But you might not want to spend the money. So let's go take a look at another app. There are plenty of free chromatic tuners. That's what we're using, a chromatic tuner. This is called Piano Tuner, and it is free on the iOS App Store, but there's plenty on Android as well, and it's tuning all of my talking, as you can see. So anyways, we're going to do the same thing, only you really got to know the notes that you're hitting. So either you could just think music theory-wise, you can go find a chart somewhere on the internet, whatever you got to do, or you can just follow along with me using a C harp. But as you start going into more stranger keys, you know, if you're playing like an A flat harp, it's going to take you a second to remember all the notes. So for now, we're just going to use this C harmonica and let's take a look. I'm expecting this note to be a G. This is 2 draw. There we go, and I'm kind of making these little changes in my mouth to get a little bit closer there, but there we go, it was a G. And now I'm expecting the drawn note here. Let's take a listen. There's the F. That's the whole step draw. Half step. There we go. So the process is pretty much the same regardless of the tool that you're using. I kind of like Harp Ninja. I find that it makes the process a little bit easier, but either way, this is a very useful thing to go and do on your own. I hope it helps you get your notes in tune. And if you're going to practice this, essentially, just grab your harmonica, grab the tuner, sit down, try to get all of your notes in tune to come out at least once, put it away, you know, pull it out in a few days, try it again. And eventually, at the very least, it should help you get those kind of like in-between bends on your certain notes. And once you can do that, you can play all the cool scales and the blues riffs and all that kind of stuff that harmonica is known for, and what makes this instrument really fun and exciting to play. I hope this helped you. My name is Jonah Fox here with Harmonica Fastlane, and I hope I see you in either one of my future videos or in my email list or in comments. So thank you for letting me help you through this process, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.